Good evening, or good morning, or whenever you're watching this. It's Mark Terry, and this is your first edition of the Capitol in Review. Of course, it's Capitol in Review and the Capitol in Preview. I'll be covering what happened in the previous week at the Capitol, or what out of my eyes anyway. And I'll be talking about what's coming up next week. And I just want to go ahead and apologize. I know this looks, it's a white wall, okay? We had a flood. My wife and I had a flood in our apartment in Austin. We had to get out. It was with the freeze. And we are just now in another apartment. And this is the wall. I will try to have this looking a little bit better next time, but I had to get to you because the Texas legislature, our 87th edition of the legislature, has started full bore last week. We had some committee meetings. There are bills coming out today at 6 p.m. Just about 7 minutes ago was the filing deadline. Now, there are some arcane ways to get bills going too, but for all intents and purposes, today at 6 o'clock was the last opportunity to file new bills. And I'll be going over some of those with you in further editions of this. Now we're planning on doing this. I will probably record on Thursday, post it on Friday so you can have a look. Now there may be occasions when I need you to get on and I need you to contact a legislator immediately. Now I will tell you, our TEPSA Legislative Network, we have about 15 to 1,600 people who have signed up for that. And those are the ones who usually get emails and communication in that way. I only have about 435 that have signed up for a program called Phone to Action. Phone to Action will allow me to text you a bill right away. And let's just do a little primer and remembering how this goes. They file a bill, or a legislator files a bill. It's read on the floor. It may or may not be referred to a committee. And then that committee starts hearing it. They usually hear it. It's laid out. They hear it. They hear testimony. Then they leave it pending and hear it. Well, the problem is they can bring it up anytime, and since it's pending, and vote on it. So I need to be able to contact people immediately, to have them immediately call their legislator and say, vote yes, vote no. This is how it helps my school. This is how it hurts my school. This is how it helps kids, hurts kids, community, blah, 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 okay? But Phone to Action, what happens is you sign up, you populate it with your zip code. It automatically will send you the right legislators. So you'll get your legislator or your representative and your senator and their contact information. And then I put a little blurb in there what to say. So it's really easy. Now, what you do is you take a break. You don't want to use district time, district resources, but you want to take a break, grab your little cell phone, walk outside, dial the number up, it's right there, and say, hey, look, I want you to vote no for this. Normally, they're not going to even ask you why. They're not going to say, well, why do you want, please explain to me the ins and outs of that. They're normally not going to say that. They're just going to want to know, where do you live? Like, are you a constituent, or is your school in my zone? And then, how do you want me to vote? Now, occasionally, if you've made a relationship with your legislator, they may call you up and they may say, hey, John, I want you to talk to me about this bill. Or if you've been to this legislature a number of times, it'll be like me. And I got a call last week from a legislative office that wanted me to help pass a bill. So those are the kind of things that can happen, but it's starting to move hot and heavy, and I need your help. So I'm gonna kind of share my screen later on. It's going to have the link to Phone to Action. It's actually going to have the TEPSA page, where you can go to the TEPSA page and you can go under advocacy, legislative priorities, bing, you hit a little button, fill it out. Wow, it goes to Phone to Action. It's a great way for me to be able to contact you. And I've already sent out one of those, just kind of a welcoming, and I had some bounce backs, so I have to repair those as well. But this week, it was interesting, very interesting. House Bill 3, which is the budget bill, came out. and it's from Burroughs. Burroughs introduced it, but it had some vouchers in it, voucher language in it. Well, that was something that we, TEPSA we do not approve of vouchers. Our priorities say we do not want to expand vouchers for charters or private schools. It ought to go to your public schools. The money ought to go to public schools. So the voucher language was in there. Well, we had a group of folks get involved, and they started asking questions. They started calling. One group in particular, Pastors for Texas Children, started calling Lubbock area because one of their leaders is from Lubbock. So they started calling mayors. They started calling boards of education, city councils, pastors, and they started peppering the borough's office with disdain. Why are you doing this? This is not right. This is not what we need to be focused on. So what happened is they took that voucher language out. So voices do make a difference. And I'm telling you, elementary school principals, supervisors, assistant principals, teachers, they carry a lot of weight. So get involved. But since we've started talking about vouchers, let me talk about some charter and voucher bills that have been introduced, both good and bad. Now, I know we have members who are charter school principals. I understand that. I also know that there are many great individuals working in charter schools who used to be in traditional public schools. I know that. So, but TEPSA's priorities and my own personal priority, if I can get that, here's my own personal feeling on it. And then here's TEPSA's feeling on it. TEPSA's priorities is that we stop the expansion of charter schools, that we slow down and we go back to the original intent of a laboratory school if you're going to do a charter school. And then no vouchers. Vouchers should not be taking money that's designated for public schools and placing them in any other kind of institution, whether it's virtual, whether it's a traditional, a traditional charter, whether it's a brick and mortar. No, it goes to your public schools, your community schools. And that's our priorities. So let's talk about some good charter bills, because I know even if you are a charter devotee, you still want it to be an upfront, transparent type of operation. And I'm telling you right now, it is not an upfront, transparent, maybe upfront, but not transparent in all ways. And we'll talk about some of those. So let's talk. Let's talk about House Bill. I've got my little cheat sheet right here. Okay. House Bill 97 and House Bill 108. That's by Jenna Hinojosa. She's from the Austin area. And her bill is about the ability of charter schools to discriminate with entry requirements in the impact that they include discipline records. Also, the inability to make it where charter schools can't expel students for not following their codes of conduct. So entry level based on discipline and expulsion based on not following the codes of conduct. These two bills would outlaw that. And I think public schools operate under those same circumstance. And I would hope that you would think that charters ought to as well. Another bill by Diego Bernal, House Bill 2255. And I'm sorry I'm doing this. I'm going to get, like I said, we got flooded out. Okay, requires charter schools to serve state or local average of percentages of special ed need students before expanding. Okay, so this says before a charter schools or charter school association or charter school can expand to more buildings, to more individual schools, they have to be up to the state or local average for serving kids with special needs. So again, public school, we're required to serve kids with special needs, and we love that. I would say more than I would probably say 3/4 of my career, I had a lot of special need programs at my school, and they really brought a lot of joy. They're a lot of work and they're very expensive, but they bring a lot of joy. So we do that in a regular traditional public school, and we feel like that, hey, we're going to support this bill because before you expand, you ought to be able to at least be ministering to those kids' needs. Okay, so House Bill 438. Have a good one. It creates a review of whether an expansion applicant equitably serves special ed and bilingual students prior to expansion consideration. Again, applying the same standards for bilingual and special education students that a regular school would normally have to do. House Bill 684 by Mary Gonzalez. This also includes economically disadvantaged and student discipline. So it's kind of covering the whole spectrum. We expect our charter schools, if they're a charter school, before they expand, they ought to be serving the wide range of students that we have coming to our schools in a traditional manner. Okay, so let's talk about State Board of Education and charters. Right now, they have a veto power over initial charters, but they do not for expansion of charters. That is the expansion of charters is determined by one guy, an unelected guy. That'd be our Commissioner of Education. So he determines expansion. But House Bill 944 by Gonzalez would move the authority for charter expansion from an unelected appointee, the chairman of the Commissioner of Education, to the elected body of the State Board of Education. So we think that's powerful because then you have people who are accountable for expanding charter schools. House Bill 438 by Ernest Bales and Senate Bill 1220 by Nathan Johnson allows elected SBOE members to veto any expansion. Right now, they don't have that. They have it for the initial charter application, but not for expansion. And this, again, would give the power to elected officials. I'm going to try to keep track of my time here. Okay. House Bill 1748 by Bales. It codifies the commissioner rules on expansion, especially if the move, if there's 10% of it, that charter company schools are rated D or F. Okay. It prohibits the commissioner from offering a waiver to those schools as well. Okay. So if a charter company has 10% of their schools scoring D or F or being rated D or F, then they won't be able to expand. And the commissioner can't override that or give waivers, which he has done before. Okay. There's several fiscal note bills to charters as well. These are kind of my really where I get kind of, I don't know, it bugs me. Okay. These are cleanup governance kinds of bills. Senate Bill 1220 requires, this is just common sense to me, requires that an applicant provide a zip code for proposed new campuses. Okay, before you can open a new campus, how about a zip code? Where is this new campus going to go? So it makes common sense to me, but that's kind of a transparency issue for me as well. Senate Bill 411 and House Bill 10, that's by West, and HB 1018 by Fierro, requires the governing bodies to hold open meetings in their geographic areas and to broadcast over the internet if campuses are in non-contiguous areas. Okay, that's a mouthful, okay? This bill came up from completely old last year and it got morphed into just the internet. And what it's asking is, hey, look, we have board meetings where our kids attend school. You ought to have board meetings where your kids attend school. And if that isn't possible, or if you have a number of schools that aren't contiguous, like they're spread out a little bit, then you need to do it over the internet and you need to record it. Now, it's interesting, when the internet requirement was after last session, I went and watched, or I got somebody sent me a video of a charter school, and they were fixed to start to talk about their budget at their meeting, and they had internet issues. I'm sorry, call me a cynic, but that was a big red flag to me. Okay, so we're fixing to get to the meat of talking about your finances at a board meeting, and all of a sudden you have internet issues. Really? I mean, I have a problem with that. And this would stop that, or at least it would help it. Then there's two bills that Representative Ramos has talked to TEPSA about, House Bill 1248 and 1249. One requires that they post basic information about their governing body members, as well as whether that member has a substantial interest in a business entity that contracts with the school. Now, doesn't that make sense? Do we have to do that? Yes, we have to. Yes, we have to make sure that people know who we are, where we are, and do we do business with the school? Do we make money off of it? I mean, it seems to be ethical, and why would you not want that? I don't get that. Okay, and then there's a House Bill 29 that says it requires you post the 3 most recent financial statements on an easily identifiable link on their homepage. Okay. Districts publish their checkbooks. Okay. So why would it not make sense for charter schools to also do the same? I'd also like to know their complete finances. Where do they get their money? Not just their money from the state, but their private contributions, their federal money, their and their state funding, any grants, anything. I'd like to know where they get their money, because we have to provide that. In fact, if you get a donation at your school, you have to go to the board and they have to vote on whether to accept it or not. So why should that not be the same with charters? Okay. There's an interesting bad bill coming up for I thought all of those were good bills. Now this is a bad bill. It's in the land and resources of all things. It's House Bill 1348 Modesto. You know, and it makes me wonder why this bill went to land and resources. I don't understand that. Maybe it's to get it to pass. I don't know. But anyway, it exempts charters from zoning requirements. I think about that. It exempts from a charter school if you're going to open a new building and you want to open it in an area that you couldn't open a school, you couldn't open a church, or they would have a zoning ordinance on it, but it's going to exempt a charter. Number one, I don't think that's good for the neighborhood. I don't think it's good for the school district. I don't think it's good for kids. So this bill is a bad bill. And I will be actually talking with the representative to let them know that I'll be testifying against that bill because I think it's patently unfair. So those are some of the charter schools bills that are coming up. Now, there is a bill to actually require charter board members to live in the state. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? If you're a board member in Hyco, Texas, don't you have to live in Hyco, Texas? Don't you have to have a connection to the community? It's not like a business where you don't have a vested interest necessarily in each individual community. So it just makes sense. Okay, so I'm going on too long. We have a ton of bills coming up next week. Tuesday is the House Public Ed Committee will meet, and I'll be there. I'll be speaking on a couple of bills. One, I'm not sure. It's one by Alan that requires us to document when we do a restraint. We already do that, so I don't know what the purpose of the bill is necessarily, because with IDEA, you have to already do that with restraints. So I'm not sure. I'm going to find out what that bill is about on Monday. And then I got to talk to Representative Desitel about the charter bill, and that'll be on. I'll have to do that on Monday as well. But please let me know if you want me to cover anything, what you want to know from me, what kind of background I need to have, how long you want this. So just let me know, and I will try to fulfill that for you. But right now, I am going to share my screen. I hope I'm sharing the right screen. Let's see. Okay, come on up there. Let's see. Oh, that's not the right one. So let's try again. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. And then I'm going to try another screen. And that's okay. I mean, I'm just kind of, okay, here we go. That's the one I want to share. Okay, so if you go to the TEPSA webpage and you push advocacy and you push legislative priorities, this little screen comes up. And there is our president, Judy Gauthier, and her superintendent, Dr. Mike Gonzalez, with the speaker, Dave Field. And we had a chance to visit with the speaker, very gracious man. It was a good talk. But anyway, if you'll look down at the very right-hand corner, it says phone to action. When you click on that, it will pull up a way for you to register so that I can immediately contact you about good bills, about bad bills, and just about general information as well. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this this first update, and I got a lot of work to do on making this look a lot more interesting. Okay. So thank you so much for what you do, what you do for kids and what you do for your communities. Thanks.